All right, folks, here we go, everybody. Good afternoon. Hey, we have big news right now at 12:50. So we have breaking news out of Rehoboth. And I was there this morning, and I will have video up. So it would seem, from what I believe, the grandparents of Greg Groom, 911 was called. They were discovered in a van, and I believe they were attempting self-harm. So it sounds like one of them was successful and the other is in the hospital. So this is just breaking, but as you know, that was right in Rehoboth. And Greg Groom, that's where Kylie Montero was found. So it sounds like, and this is, I was out there this morning. I will have the video posted. I was the only media out there this morning. I saw the police. We also have a picture of the rescue that is there. But from what I understand, it one has been there's the house. So let me just pull it up. Again, this is breaking news. So there's the house, County Street in Rehoboth. And I'll be posting, I want to just double check. I did speak with Rehoboth police. They were still assessing the situation. But I saw that NBC 10 in Boston, they were successful in able to get an answer. So, but this is all just breaking right now. But I will have video. Man declared deceased, found unresponsive. I think it's the grandfather. A woman is hospitalized after unresponse to the address of the property owned by the murderer of Kaylee Montero, the suspect Greg Groom's family. Were two unresponsive adults. Okay. Suspected carbon monoxide incident. First responders located the male, female in a work-style van. Appeared to be their living quarters. Maybe they weren't living in the house. The male was declared deceased at the scene. Female transported to the hospital in Boston Hospital. Condition unknown. I did not see Massachusetts State Police respond to the scene. I did not see them. But good afternoon. So this is a developing story now. We're going to have more of it. I have video up. Not video up yet, but I will have video. And we're going to, but this is an odd story. You know, again, just to put this in perspective, maybe this will get people, this, you know, the whole element of Kylie and Greg Groom, and then she was found on the property. And now it turns out, could be the grandfather. So it sounds like it's very possible. Maybe they did, you know, they just no longer, I don't blame them, but no longer want to, you know, that's a tough thing to live under. And they were in a van and they tried to do carbon monoxide poisoning. So one was successful, the male. Now the female supposedly is alive, but we think it is the grandparents of Greg Groom. So folks, there they were, Kylie and Greg Groom. He is now being held without bail. Very sad, Janet Dwyer. It is. So he is being held without bail for the murder of Kylie Montero. But now it does sound like the grandfather has taken his life. So Greg Groom, you look at it, not only did he take her life, not only was she then also pregnant with his child, but now it sounds as though he also, as a result of his actions, that the grandparents have decided that they would take their own life. So he's got a couple of lives now that this guy, wow, really, really remarkable in a short span of time. Now, they were living in a van apparently on the property. I don't know what to make of that. But again, this is the whole Rehoboth story. Greg Groom, so sad. It is sad. And poor little Kylie. And but as of right now, the grandparents at the house, he's the one you remember. And again, we're going to be getting started, but I did want to come on with this breaking news that, and I do have video. And I want to thank, we have great members of Road Patrol Live there. And so I was on the scene and able to capture some footage. So, but I'll be posting that after the program, simply because we have two great guests that are going to be coming up. But what a wild story. Now, keep in mind, he's going to be held without bail. I don't see this. We've talked about it. We don't see this going to trial. Some kind of a plea is going to be made. He's only going to be charged with the murder of Kylie. He's not being charged in the death of the unborn infant, who apparently he was the father of. So, and then let me just see this photo. Okay, they were the two friends. Friends no longer. Haven't heard anything about that one. Yep. But we're going to be talking to Attorney Stephanie Murphy coming up. But again, this is breaking news. So the property where you had Kylie and Greg and the two of them at the barn, and that was right around August 13th was when that story really started taking off. And now we have this situation. Yep. It all seems so promising. So, but we're going to talk to Attorney Stephanie Murphy about some of the legal stories. Oh. Okay. Okay, we have some good legal stories that we're going to touch on. But again, I do have video of this. That's right, Tracy. I don't know. That was an odd one. Now remember, we don't want to go back through the whole thing. No need. But if you remember, she didn't drive. The friend drove. He didn't drive. She didn't drive, but the friend drove. But again, I was out there this morning. I want to thank, we have our great Road Patrol crew out there that caught it. They were called, 2 adults unresponsive. I don't know if it's the brother that found, I don't know who found them. I did see a woman in the scene. Now the mother wasn't, that's right, Chuck. The mother was not living at the property. So it's very possible that when I post the video, you'll see there's video of a woman on the property who's talking to the police. And she looks like someone who would be the age of, that would be the mother of Greg Groom, and then with the parents and so forth. So, but that'll be posted right after 2:00. But I'm glad I went out. You hear me say in the video, because I'm thinking, all right, is this? But there was no other media there, as you can imagine. Woke up, did a wake up and go to Rehoboth, caught it. Yep. Yeah, you can only imagine. All right, folks, again, we're going to be starting in just a couple moments we're going to start off. We have some good legal stories. Then we're also going to talk to Mark Vargas about some of this violence that is going on. And then, the weather, it's a beautiful afternoon out, so we'll be active with Road Patrol Live later. Gian says the audio is perfect. Oh, good. There's Stephanie Murphy. So we're going to be starting, folks, in just a couple moments. Yes, I have video. Yep. I noticed that. So I talked with Rehoboth Police, but it sounds like NBC Boston. They spoke with the DA's office and was able to get that. I did speak with the chief's office this morning. So, all right, we're going to start in 5 minutes. 5 minutes out. We're going to come right out at 106 with Stephanie Murphy. But coming up at 2 o'clock, I do have video regarding the situation that happened right there, Rehoboth, this morning. And you'll see the video of the police. I almost went live, but the police were clearing out, and I wasn't exactly sure what exactly had taken place. So we didn't go live, but I do have the video. So we'll post that coming up. So we're going to start just a couple moments. Some interesting stories that are in the news, but that does sound like it sounds like the grandfather has succumbed to carbon monoxide poisoning. So from what we understand, that's usually not a completely accidental thing. It can be, but it doesn't. My understanding is it doesn't sound like it in this particular situation. But as you can imagine, I mean, a really tragic situation. Now, by the way, I have heard good things about the brother, so I wanted to mention that. From what I understand, the brother of Greg Groom actually reached out and essentially tried to pay his respects to Kylie Montero's family. I have heard that. So that must have taken a lot. That would take a lot. Most people would not go to a wake. A lot of people don't go to a wake when it's a family member or someone they actually know, let alone if then your brother, hi there, Bill, is the one that is, sits held without bail into the murder. But it is breaking news, and it's one of those things, I never know. I want to thank Rachel, tipped me off. I go out, I start filming. I'm thinking, should I go live? I don't know. We don't know all the details. There was a police scene, but it was breaking down. So at that time, and this was about a little after 9 o'clock, I thought maybe let's wait. Maybe it's possible that someone thought something had happened, but it didn't happen, and it wasn't like a continuous scene. But I do have video of it. That's the most important. All right, we're going 2 minutes out. 2 minutes out. And we have some good legal stories for our legal analyst, who is attorney Stephanie Murphy. And it is sad. Yep. Yeah, you're right, Tricia. I believe it was. People that had gone in the house said that things would, I saw a video, FaceTime of Kylie, said things were just like piled up to the ceiling. Terrible. All right, we are 1 minute out, and we're going to begin. And we have some good stories, especially people are asking me about these charges dropped against 2 suspects in the Federal Hill Bank heist. Let's see what Stephanie says. I think that's a little bit of not so fast. Also, the trial for the South Kingstown Town Councilor is underway. Hey, heated rhetoric in the hallway. You got to be careful. Now, that ousted Rhode Island State Trooper, update on him. and then another incident of these people being accused of filming. So, and then we'll see what Stephanie has. So we are going to begin right now. And folks, good afternoon. Yes, it is the John DePietro Show. Happy Friday. I'll have more on this just a little while, but there is breaking news again. It's out of Rehoboth. That was the home of Greg Groom, where apparently police were called. We were on the scene. I have video coming after this program at 2:00, where they found two unresponsive adults. Maybe it was that accidental, could have been, in a van, but one is now deceased. I think the grandfather and then the grandmother started a local hospital and then taken to a Boston hospital. So it sounds very, very serious. But let's start off, folks. She is our legal analyst, and it is attorney Stephanie Murphy. And Stephanie, if you don't mind, I'd like to start off because a number of people are asking me about this story that caught a lot of people off guard, that apparently that two of the suspects with that, there was a situation on Federal Hill where there was a bank employee, and then it led to a house in Woonsocket, then it led to a storage unit in North Providence. And some people are wondering what is going on, that these charges are being dropped against two of the suspects, but you tell us it sounds a little bit like not so fast.
Yeah, absolutely, John. It's not so fast. In Rhode Island, unlike other states, the Attorney General's office has 6 months to charge a felony on like an information. So what happens is you might get arrested, you might get charged, you appear in district court, and it's really not even an arraignment. You can't even enter a plea on felony charges. And then what happens is you get these pre-screening dates that kind of come and go. And what happens during that time is the Attorney General's office will either sign an information or indict you through the grand jury process. But a lot of times, in a lot of cases, that doesn't happen within the 6 months. So if that doesn't happen within the 6 months, the defendant is able to move to dismiss in district court because you haven't been charged. But the state in each case has a statute of limitations to actually file the charges. So even if it gets dismissed in district court, the Attorney General's office can always file an information or an indictment in Superior Court at a time later on.
So at first blush, people should not think like, oh, wow, look at that. They got away with it. It doesn't sound like they're getting away. That's pretty serious bank robbery.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, as a criminal defense attorney, I kind of have a problem. The 6-month screening period is actually a pretty long time. In most states, if you get arrested and charged with a felony, the screening period is pretty short, like about 10 days in Massachusetts and stuff like that. I have clients on different charges that appear in district court, they're get put on bail, and 6 months go by that they're on bail. Their liberties are kind of, tightened, and they have to keep the peace and be of good behavior. They could get locked up. So I really think the 6-month time period is a really long time for somebody to be on bail in order for the state to try to charge or not charge. But in this case, it seems like the 6 months came and went a long time ago, and they were able to file a motion to dismiss in district court, but it does not mean the case is over.
What do you make of this? Is a time, Stephanie, of a lot of heated dialogue, politics. It's an atmosphere right now, very volatile. The South Kingstown town councilor, the trial for him. What should we take away from that? Now, number one, I'm actually surprised it's going to trial, but where does this cross from two people having a political disagreement in a hallway to suddenly someone's on trial for this disagreement?
Yeah, I think we've kind of talked about this a couple times in different contexts, such as, a sporting event and stuff like that. Where does it cross the line? I mean, I feel like the police could have probable cause to charge a lot of simple assaults, every single day, but, the police might use their discretion and not charge, a simple assault. But the threshold of probable cause for simple assault is, putting somebody in fear of bodily harm or actually touching somebody. So that law is very, very, easy for a officer to get probable cause. But I think it's a discretion that the police use in charging or not charging. And that differs every officer, every department. So I think there's a lot of simple assault charges that could get charged, but the police use their discretion and not charge. But in this case, they found the probable cause to arrest and charge. I am surprised it's going to trial. It is like I said, the simple assault is putting somebody in fear of a bodily touching that, is unwanted. So I am surprised it's going to trial. I don't know what the offer was, But there's ways to resolve simple assaults with the filing, and stuff like that, where it gets dismissed after a period of time.
Stephanie, what would you advise someone goes to a town council meeting? A lot of people, sometimes they go into these school committee meetings, they've never been to one, they go to a city council, town council, they don't realize that sometimes it can get volatile. What would you advise someone to avoid that could then get them into legal jeopardy?
I mean, and any threat of force or physical touching and stuff like that, walk away before that happens. If it's getting heated, you can always walk away and not be involved in it. There's times where something happens that is self-defense and you're protecting yourself because you're right in the middle. But, walking away, I would be my first priority if I was in that situation. Walk away, let whatever happens happen, but not be involved in it myself.
It always seems to be the threshold is if someone actually puts their hands on someone else. That seems to always then be the line that then could get someone in trouble. Now, we had spoken about this state trooper, and he now has taken a plea deal. A lot of people seem confused, and a couple of people reached out saying, does this mean he got away with it? Could you just touch on how they arrived at that?
Well, a lot of times, like as we've seen in, many different cases in the news, this year, in terms of a plea deal, is there might be some problems with the state's case, or there might be mitigation that was brought up to the judge or the prosecutor. And what that does is that gives somebody an opportunity to kind of mitigate or get a lesser sentence or anything like that. I don't think it means that they got away with anything. There was still some sort of resolution of the case. And it's a resolution that the evidence points is fair, that the judge thinks is fair, the prosecutor, any victims, hopefully they all had input in, resolving the matter. But there's so many different ways to resolve a case. A case can get dismissed, or you could be sent to jail. So there's a wide range of different outcomes, but I wouldn't say necessarily getting away with it. It all depends on exactly what happened, what was presented, what the judge said, the prosecutor. So you have to look at each case individually and kind of see what happened in the case, what the problems and the weaknesses are, and what mitigation was given.
Now, each week, we've talked about this with this situation with there's more and more cases of people filming people. They tend to seemingly always be male, and they're filming a female. This time, it's a Rhode Island sheriff arrested after an incident, Johnson, Wales. I've had a couple people reached out to ask you, what should, let's say primarily it's female. I'm unaware of any males being filmed, but what should a female do if they're in a situation where they feel some strange guy they don't know either did film them or is filming them?
Well, I think if you're in a store or a place where there's, someone who works there and stuff like that, bring that right up to the manager, to an employee. If you have other concerns, it's not a place where you can go and report it right away. You can definitely go to the police department, have them investigate it. I wouldn't advise somebody to confront the person, that can lead to an altercation or putting, your safety in danger, but definitely needs to get reported. I mean, most people have a phone, and they can record back and stuff like that. So, there's cameras around, people have phones. I never want anyone to put their public's, their safety in jeopardy,
Right.
But, make a report, call the police, do everything that you need to do to make sure that your rights are protected and that no one's filming you, especially in compromised positions or restrooms or anything where there's an expectation of privacy.
Folks, it's time for Murphy's Law. This is a story that attorney Stephanie Murphy has found that she finds interesting. What do you have for us this week, Stephanie?
Well, actually, it's a personal incident that I was driving down Warwick and got a speeding ticket, a warning in the mail for driving, 42 on Centerville Road. Where my car was, they don't know who was driving it. But at that point, you really, it's a warning. It's not a ticket yet. But in terms of, I'm kind of feeling the pain that some of my clients call me with some of the traffic cameras and whether or not your constitutional rights are being violated, whether or not, who was driving the vehicle, the speed, how it was calibrated. There's no proof of, the radar, the calibration or anything like that was really given to me. But it was just an interesting thing to get that in the mail and kind of just see how now speeding tickets are being done through cameras and, whether or not you have the right to fight it, how you fight it, and what happens with the ticket. I know it doesn't go on your driving record, but at the same time, it is a ticket that you have to pay and it's money out of your pocket. and how
Yeah.
do you fight it and what constitutional rights apply in terms of fighting that ticket.
Wow. I did not know that Warwick has this and that people are running into. I know that, in Providence, if you go through a red light or something
Right,
like
like a red
that,
light camera, right? But for
yeah,
speeding, when I represent a client at a speeding trial, sometimes I go to trial on it and talk to the officer, other vehicles, was a radar calibrated, how was it clocked, radar, was it driving behind the person? There's all these different things that I would talk to the officer about. And a camera speeding ticket definitely kind of takes away the opportunity I would have to fight for my
yeah,
client, or finding out exactly who was driving. I mean, cars are used by multiple family members on multiple days.
yeah,
And, you don't keep track of who ran out to the pharmacy or who ran out to McDonald's to grab food. And
right.
you might have to pay a ticket on one of these. And that's money that you're paying. That's going to be really difficult to fight. So that was just a personal experience that kind of collaborated with my legal experience.
I like that. Folks, again, it's attorney Stephanie Murphy. Stephanie, excellent job as always, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, John. Have a great day. Bye.
All right. Now, folks, good afternoon. Now, remember, and I want to also just mention, I think this is interesting. And the question that goes to Tonya is, how do you know that? So she's saying it's not the grandparents. So I'll just ask that, and I'm not being confrontational. It's not the grandparents; they're alive and well. Well, then the question becomes, who is it that was living in a van on the property of Greg Groom? And let me just, before I want to tell you how, if you have, oh, okay, whoever they were living in the van. One of them, yes, okay, but we don't know exactly who it was. Let me just double. Um, First, someone younger than, wouldn't that mean Groom's brother? All right, so I'm just not grand. I have no idea. All right, so we'll see if. Well, it's very unusual. That was initially tipped off to me. Clearly, that is not the case. This can happen. So I want to just see the statement just released said they're waiting to notify the descendant. Would that mean Groom's brother? It infers someone younger than them. People believe in living a van in Rehoboth, unresponsive. Just for County Street reported two unresponsive adults. Okay, that I don't see where it says that in that statement. I know, but I don't see where it says. I don't see where it says notify anyone. I don't see where it says notify anyone. All right. So we're going to, again, this is someone that did tip off, certainly thought police looks like the grandparents. All right. That's what people thought. But then we don't know who it is. All right. So we're going to, unless Tanya posted this, and Tanya, again, we have no reason to not believe you, but you posted that. It's not the grandparents. So, folks, the easy question for Tanya Holland, who decided to post that, the very easy question is, how do you know that? How do you know that it's not? So you're posting that. I know we're doing this in real time. I'm going to give her a moment to type in a response to that. So that's what I think the question becomes. Now, I do want to stay on schedule. We do have a 1:30 guest. But we're going to have to reel it back in a little bit. I'm glad we didn't post anything as of yet. So the initial story of someone thinking it was the grandparents, but again, I don't see her posting any answer on that. So we'll stay and go back on schedule. Folks, I want to remind you, if you ever have a legal situation, you can call attorney Stephanie Murphy, Marin Barrett and Murphy. Call them 401-228-8271. Remember, free consultation, 401-228-8271 for Marin, Barrett, and Murphy. We're still not seeing anything. And I don't, people come on and post something like that, and then they go radio silent. Why is that? Why did you post that? How do you know that? Oh my goodness, folks. So we put up with. Don't forget about PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Fall is in the air. It sure is. Homegrown mums and kale are outstanding. They also have everything you need for all your fall decorations: pumpkins, straw bales, corn stalks, gourds, Indian corn, native vegetables. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Pop in and see them. Their Facebook page is just a work of art because it really just comes to life, and it shows everything that they have at PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. What I love, they grind it and they work it without question. 7 days a week. Look for them. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Now, folks, we have some original stories up. Now, look at this. See, it's a Friday, right? And I want to be low key, but we have someone that comes in, and now obviously this person then knows this person, Jessica. So if Jessica could reach out to her friend that posted this statement and now has gone radio silent. So, folks, it is very, very challenging as we try to navigate the maze of social media. And I don't understand how someone would admittedly, I don't know, Jessica, why not reach out to your friend? She seemed to know you. And it's not the grandparents. They're alive and well. Very simple question. How do you know that? Well, it is a developing story. It is a developing story that 2 adults were found. Now, let me see if I have any update from my source on the scene. Okay. Just put out by Rehoboth Police. They responded 17 County Street, 2 unresponsive adults, male, female, in a work-style van on the property. Van appeared to be living quarters. Male pronounced deceased on the scene, female transported. Next of kin notification is pending for the male descendant. Okay. The matter is not deemed to be suspicious at this time. So, meaning one of 2 things. It is odd. Meaning one of 2 things. What do we know about that? We know that we know that if it's not suspicious, it could be self-harm or it could have been an accident. One of the 2. We're going to leave it at that. But it is unusual. The police certainly once again called out to that address, and it's another deceased person found on the property. Another deceased person found on the property. All right. As I mentioned, our website, brought to you by the Cohasset Inn, 226 Cohasset Avenue, West Warwick. Lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge. They're waiting for you. Great menu. Try the chefs. The chef specials are great at the Cohasset Inn. I want to go back to, I have to admit, folks, this is like unrelatable to me. Can you imagine coming into a live chat, typing this statement, nothing to back it up, and then when you ask, where did you get this from? They completely disappear. Unrelatable activity. And this is not someone that's young. Someone knows this person. So again, this is unsolicited. Post that statement. I have information about who was found and who wasn't found on the property. And then you say, oh, okay. How do you know that happened? Nothing. All right, let's move along. We'll try to stay on schedule before we talk to Mark Vargas And I also want to echo, I've gotten quite a bit of messages and email about the situation with Woonsocket High School. I want to be very clear. That's going to be up to the people at the high school that are going to have to. That's exactly right, Janet Dwyer. I think it's a simple question. How do you know that? In order for them to figure it out. Now, folks, another week, and we have another week of some pretty high profile crimes. I want people to realize I know it happened in Dallas, and we know it was not a, very well known name, but you have to acknowledge this is a very violent climate that we're seeing and some of the crimes. Think of just in recent weeks. Not only did you have the North Carolina situation, not only did you have the obviously the very high profile Charlie Kirk assassination. Now you have someone showing up with a rifle at an ICE facility. And what should stand out to people, it is very, very alarming and concerning. And maybe someone else can point to another example, but there seems to be to me a copycat style where they're writing things on the bullets. And this one, the latest, actually had to do with anti-ICE, and someone that covers crime and knows a lot about it. And we've had him on, and he's taken the time to join us, is our friend Mark Vargas. Good afternoon, Mark.
John, it's great to be with you. I really appreciate it.
And for Mark, another week and another examples of some pretty high profile crimes.
You're right. And what this is really showing is that the Democratic Party is really the party of death and destruction. Here in Chicago, where I'm at, as you know, this is Charlie Kirk's hometown. This is where he was born and raised. This is where he launched Turning Point. His earliest financial supporters, his earliest supporters in general are all here from the Chicagoland area. And we're dealing with teachers and businesses and school districts that are allowing teachers and people to celebrate his assassination, to mock it, to publicly try and block public memorials to honor him at places that are just a couple of miles from his hometown. We're seeing this across the board, that the Democrat Party doesn't want to advance America. The Democratic Party and the individuals that have hijacked it, like AOC and Ilhan Omar, they hate America. And so it's really sad to see the current state where we're at, where you have the Republican Party that wants to create law and order. Let's negotiate. Let's have common sense discussions, while we're seeing supporters of the far left fringe Democratic Party are all about death and destruction.
Mark, another example, as much as they're trying to use the both sides argument, number one, it's the Democrat-led cities that seemingly have the most crime. And number two, look at just the reaction of Democrats destroying Charlie Kirk memorials, as you talk about the hate language and things that are being put out there by teachers unions and teachers. It's hard to distinguish, I think, and I want to know your thought, but President Trump, this is a step in the right direction. It's about time someone declares Antifa what they are, which is they operate as a terrorist organization.
You're 100% right. They do operate as a terrorist organization. And John, I have spent some time, I was a civilian in Baghdad. I deployed 14 times between 07 and 10. I just returned from Israel last month, where I spent almost a week there, going to Gaza, going up north to Golan Heights to see the destruction by Hezbollah and Hamas. I know what a war zone looks like. I know what it smells like. I know what it feels like and sounds like. What the Democrats Party has done is it's unconscionable. And what we're seeing is these Democratic-led cities. It all goes back to the common theme. The common denominator is Democrat Party, Democrat ideals. We are the party of law and order. They are the party of lawlessness and death. And what's interesting is we're beginning to see, John, a discussion about First Amendment rights. And where do your First Amendment rights stop and where do they start? And I'd make the argument, I've been studying this, is that particularly for public officials, and we've seen military members celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination, we've seen public school teachers and other officials celebrate or mock the assassination of Charlie Kirk. What's important to point out here is that even the First Amendment has limits. You can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. And we're seeing federal courts also stick to this, that if rhetoric coming from teachers, for example, are a disruption to the classroom, that's when your First Amendment rights stop. And I believe that celebrating the assassination of political leaders, celebrating the assassination of individual like Charlie Kirk, I believe that does cause a disruption in a classroom and a disruption in a public setting. And therefore, the courts have followed up and said that that is where your First Amendment rights stop. But again, on this Charlie Kirk, my last point on this is my heart goes out to the 5,000 college-age students that witnessed an assassination of their political hero. And it's going to take years, if not generations, for them to fully recover or comprehend what they just witnessed.
Mark, you could also, and I'd like you brought it up, the teachers union in Chicago, they're, number one, notoriously linked with the Democrat Party, but they are, you want to talk about a violent group, and they basically have decimated public education in the Chicago school systems.
You're absolutely right. And unfortunately, it's the new Democratic machine in Chicago. They're also corrupt. We have evidence that, particularly in the last mayor election with Brandon Johnson and Paul Vallis, that the Chicago public schools were busing students from their classrooms, busing them to the polling stations to make sure that they voted for vote for who you want to, but vote for Brandon Johnson. The mayor's office is controlled by the corrupt Chicago Teachers Union. You're going to love this, John, and this will be the first time reporting it on your show. But the Chicago's Teachers Union put out a memo that all Chicago public schools must pass migrant students. They can't fail them. So they're going into our schools. They can't even speak English. They don't understand what the teachers are talking about. They don't understand what's on their homework. But yet they've been mandated to give them all passing grades. They are corrupt. We've lost thousands and thousands of students after COVID that never returned to class. Our Chicago public school students are some of the worst in the nation in terms of reading, writing, and arithmetic. They are riddled with crime. The criminals that are conducting armed carjacking, the criminals that are robbing stores, they're not adults. They're children. They're teenagers. I'll never forget this, John. I visited a violence prevention program in the south side of Chicago. I did this about 2 years ago. And they said many of these individuals are armed, but they are wanting to kind of turn their lives over. Would you be willing to speak with them? And he said, they've committed murder. They've repeatedly committed armed carjackings and armed robbery. Are you ready to meet them? I said, yes. I took a deep breath, walked into the room. I was shocked. My jaw hit the floor. They were all teenagers.
Wow.
When they should be in school, when they should be learning, when they should have after-school activities, they're not. They're out on the streets committing crime. It was a shocking and very sobering moment.
Mark, how can people read your great work?
Well, thank you for asking. We can follow us on IllinoisReview.com. You can also go to Newsmax.com and follow my column. It's called The Potomac Perspective. And you can follow me on social media at Mark A. Vargas, where I promote everything that I've published. And again, I appreciate this opportunity, John.
Absolutely. Folks, the great Mark Vargas. Mark, great to talk to you again. We'll talk again soon.
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks so much.
All right, folks, there it is. Mark Vargas right here on the John DePietro Show. Now, I believe we have another update on this Rehoboth situation. Thank you to Mark. Boy, I like his travel schedule. I want in on the next trip overseas. Folks, this portion of our program is brought to you by Propane Plus. Now, remember, with all this foolishness about the windmills, we don't need this. Propane is a great source of energy. Log on at propaneplus.com. They're available 24/7. Remember, in Rhode Island, you can call them at 401-885-4209 or in Massachusetts, 508-252-3359. For Propane Plus, heating, cooling, residential, commercial, you can depend on Propane Plus. Now, for those that are, if you're just tuning in, we do have a developing situation, and I've been mentioning Now, coming up at 2 o'clock, as soon as we finish this hour, I do have video that I will be uploading. I was out there this morning. There's something very unusual. We pulled back. We had, I'm not sure who it was that was found. The initial report that we had was that again, this goes back to, as I mentioned, and it was the situation with Greg Groom, Rehoboth. He took the life of his girlfriend. He buried her on his property there where he lived with the grandparents, and I think the brother lived there. We're now hearing that there was a van on the property, like a work van, and that the police were called due to carbon monoxide poisoning within the van. There's no foul play. Now, they do say that if it is self-harm. If it's self-harm, meaning they intentionally, rigged up the van, and then if you have the carbon monoxide from the gas pipe then pumping into the car. I mean, I don't even like to talk about it, but it is, a way that people then take sleeping pills, they go to sleep, and that's how people do self-harm. And we don't know who it is. So now what's interesting is we were initially told when we went out there this morning that it was the grandparents. And then suddenly, just a short time ago, we had someone in the chat that suddenly said, "Oh no, it's not the grandparents." Now, here's what is unknown, and this can happen sometimes. So the person that posted that suddenly, and it's unrelatable to me, this Tanya Holland, how you would come in, announce, "Oh, it's not them," and then just disappear. Now, it's very possible, has been my experience, that sometimes people speak out of school, so to speak. They don't realize that something did happen and that it is, in fact, the grandparents. And then instead of just coming in to the chat, since we're live on YouTube and X and Facebook, and then just saying, instead of just saying, I was wrong, it is, in fact, it sounds like it was. They just were dealing with this, where they're disappearing. They post a comment, they say hi to someone, and then it's hide and go seek. I find it unrelatable. I don't know why you wouldn't then just come back and say, "Oh, I didn't realize I was wrong." I don't know. Now, folks, someone also did ask me, Tiffany actually sent me a message saying that who is the company? They had some flooding where she works yesterday because of all the rain. And who is the company that I recommend? And folks, the company is ServPro. ServPro of Providence. Call them 401-941-5500. 401-941-5500. ServPro of Providence, whether it is a fire or a flood or mold. That was a lot of rain. We had a lot of rain this week. So maybe you've had some problems with some water. But with ServPro of Providence, they're fast, they're thorough, they're professional. It's ServPro of Providence. Call them today at 401-941-5500. Fast, thorough, professional. ServPro of Providence for restoration, reliability, and results. Well, folks, again, good afternoon. So to me, I mean, we'll wait to see how this plays out. I want to be very clear with everyone. I immediately reached out. I'll tell you how early I called. When I contacted the police, Rehoboth police, I spoke to someone in the chief's office, and she didn't seem to know what I was talking about. I don't know what that means because you said hi to me. I don't know what that means. That's right. The news says they all know right now they lived in the van. I don't know what to make of these people, Janet. They're very odd. We did hear that the house was basically like a hoarder situation, a pigsty. So, it's also, folks, kind of interesting. So, right now, number one, I like people that as I'm live, Groom Yard, two more yeah, yeah. We're live right now talking about it, Harry. Yep. Ah, that's it. That would be interesting. That would be interesting. We're going to leave the speculation out. We're going to wait to hear who they announce. I'm not going to speculate anymore. Now, some people are asking me, could it be this one? Could it be that one? I don't know. I was there this morning. I was the only one there that I saw this morning. I know the other people, maybe someone saw me there, what have you, but we have video that we'll post, but it is on the property. It is on the property. And you know what I was thinking? So this all happened. If I go into my calendar, I can see exactly when it happened. But when you think about it, everything was, I think it was right around August 13th. I have the exact date of what happened. So he took the life of her on the 13th, I think. Yeah, on the 13th, that night. And then obviously we were out there that day. No, excuse me. Then we jumped on it. Wait a minute. Well, anyway, what I was thinking was everything was pretty normal. Like to those people, everything was fairly normal. Oh, okay. I went on the 13th. So it actually happened on the 6th. Right. Okay. It happened on the 6th. No one knew on the 7th. Then he went and reported it on the 8th. Okay. As I go through my timeline. So he took her life and then buried her on, as gruesome as that is, on August 6th. And then he went to the police station on the 8th. The Rehoboth police put out that she was missing on the 11th, that they had a missing person. Hold on. On the 11th. And then we went to Rehoboth, right. And then when did they arrest? They arrested him then that next week. Okay. Then they got him the next week. There you go. Okay. Well, I know it is terrible. That's right, Bill. But there was activity. So now, what's interesting is when I was talking to, I won't say who, but a member of the Rehoboth police, they were almost trying to say, well, it has nothing to do with us, kind of. They were kind of saying that a little bit. It actually has everything to do with you. So I don't know why, whoever it is that I spoke to, why they felt that's a shot of the land. The houses are pretty close together, much closer than I had initially remembered. But it's just the property goes way back. So it's so woodsy there. And so when I went there, I could see the police activity down the down the driveway, and as I mentioned earlier, I could see there was some woman that was talking to them. So we're gonna. Oh, good. That should be the queen. We're gonna wait until we get an official announcement on exactly who it was that may have or was in fact in that van. Well, folks, it's Friday, and it is also change of season, and this is a time that you want to stay healthy. That's why, as a public service, basically, we bring on the one and only, the queen of health. It is Marie, and it's my health. 1099 Menden Road in Cumberland. Good afternoon, Marie.
Hi, John. Happy Friday. Beautiful day. Beautiful
It
day.
is, as a matter of fact, Marie. Marie, what do you have for us on this Friday?
Well, I was really torn today. Should I start talking about flu and colds? Because people are already starting with the colds. We're already getting people in. I mean, there's still some allergies out there for sure, but it's people coming in with coughs and sinus problems already, coughs they can't seem to get rid of. So I was going to talk about that, but we've got a whole season of that. So I thought I would highlight today some of the CBD products, because now we're going out there and starting to rake leaves and do that kind of thing. So there's going to be some discomfort. So we do have things like arnica. We have that in many different forms, including taking it orally, but topical. But I wanted to just highlight some of the CBD things that we do have. We have some teas. We have some drinks. So a nice, flavorful drinks that have the CBD in them. We have CBD in salve that you can use on a sore muscle or sore back. We have gummies, and the gummies come in different forms so that you can, if you need it for sleep or if you need it for pain or you need it for mood, there are different ones. This is one of our most popular creams that we have. It's hard to keep on the shelf. A lot of people like this. And my husband, who doesn't usually give good feedback on things, he loves this one. So I know it's a good one. And this one's a local product. So Helios is a spray, is a topical that's been around a long time. It's made here in Rhode Island, and they have now one that has CBD in it, and it comes in a roll-on and in a spray. So many options. If you've got some pain or discomfort, CBD can be a way to go, and not to be afraid of it. It works really well. It's not marijuana. It comes from hemp, and it doesn't have the THC. So.
And Marie, what about for people that have pets?
Oh, we have CBD for pets as well, for, especially as they get older and they start to get arthritic. See such a difference if they start using the CBD. We have other things too. We have things that have the glucosamine in them, and the hyaluronic acid that the people can give their pets that will help with joint health. But we also have CBD that I get great feedback from people using CBD on their pets, that they, where they couldn't do the stairs before and now they can, or their walks had started to get shorter and now the dog is more interested in playing and walking and running.
Now, Marie, I'm sure you have, it should be this time of year. The weather is great today. What's on tap for this weekend at It's My Health, 1099 Menden Road in Cumberland?
So we have yoga tomorrow. We have Pilates tomorrow. We started a new yoga class on Wednesday nights at 7:00, the nice vinyasa flow. So we have all of that going on.
Folks, stop in and see her. She's the queen of health. You want to stay healthy. Remember, it's your health. It's my health. 1099 Menden Road in Cumberland. Marie, great job as always. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you, John. Take care.
Folks, isn't she just delightful? I hear from so many people that love Marie. And I also want to point out to people, you want to cherish a valued local retailer like that. And she has great local products. She has great herbs and spices. Stop in and see her. Marie is so knowledgeable. Stop in and see her. It's My Health, 1099 Menden Road in Cumberland, diagonally across from Davenport Restaurant. Well, folks, good afternoon. So we're gonna wait until they announce exactly what happened. So it is an unusual situation. Without question, it is definitely unusual. And it is the situation where Greg Groom lived. If you remember, that was the drama of August, where you had Greg Groom and you had Kylie, who was missing. And I want to kind of revisit that just a little bit. So that was a wild week because it was the situation in Cranston. So August 13th was when we had done a story on it. So that was, let me just see when that, yeah, Rehoboth Police. Maybe it was that Tuesday they posted it. I think it was that Monday or Tuesday that they posted that she was missing. And then that, yeah, that was, that's when that whole thing really kind of, that's when it kicked off. And then it, we were out. And then if you remember, we dropped everything and just went into full coverage. And that's where then we were talking to the friend. And then we got a chance to talk with one of Kylie's sister. And we were staying on the story and recognizing that something seemed odd. And then we learned, I'm just looking at my notes. This was uploaded on August 13th, which I believe was the Wednesday. And it's so terrible now, but there they were. And that was from back in June. And, we learned a lot from that by going into, for those of you, a lot of you remember, we went into just nonstop coverage and doing it each night. We learned that she didn't drive. We learned that he didn't drive. We had the friend that came on that said that the grandparents used to drive them places, or maybe the sister told us that. We learned from the friend that one of her supposed friends claimed that there was some kind of abuse issues, but we don't know if that's the case. But we did learn more about the story, and then fast forward, it led to, horrifically, that he killed her. He killed her on the Wednesday night, and then on Thursday and Friday was essentially pretending he was her through her phone, trying to give some family members the idea that she was still alive. And then, then they discover, eventually he goes down to the police station and they get it out of him and he confesses, basically. But the reason we're talking about this situation that happened on County Street in Rehoboth was there was a van there. Police were called to that residence. And now, by the way, and you'll see the video, right after 2:00, I have some video I'm going to post. You see all this, no trespassing, cameras, blah, 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 video surveillance and everything else. But there was a van there. There were two individuals, male, female, unresponsive. The male was declared deceased. The female, I believe, was rushed to the hospital. Then they said even taken to a Boston hospital. And we have no word on who it is. So that's what's been released. Now, who it is they found, we don't know. That has not been released. So I have different people messaging me speculation. There was someone that thought it was the grandparents. We don't know if it's the grandparents. Then we had someone come on and say it's, or just put a comment that it wasn't, but then they disappeared. So, but we do know that I don't know what to make of this. So is it a family member? Were they allowing someone else to stay there? The police have said that there's no foul play. So I'm not sure, right now we're going to wait and let's see what they come back with. But it is unusual that there's another death on the property at 107 County Street. As I was riding along there, I was trying to think. So if you're the neighbors, everything was seemingly normal. The last time anything was normal there was the first week of August. And then there's some nice property around there, and it backs up to, there's a reservoir there. What's interesting is, now what do you do? Like, what do you do if you live that street. What do you do if that's your neighborhood? I don't know what you do. Meaning, do you sell the house? Can you just go about business as normal? Is everything still normal to that? I don't know what to make of that. But it's very woodsy, but it's pretty creepy now that first you had a homicide and he buried her on the property, and now you have, and again, they haven't said exactly what happened, but another death on that property. Folks, this portion of the program, speaking of property, is brought to you by Watson Materials, the largest selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island. Call them at 401-885-0600. This is the perfect time. Make the most of your outdoor space. And Watson Materials, call Sean, request a quote at 401-885-0600. 401-885-0600, whether it's landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone, cobblestone. Watson Materials, the most complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island, is Watson. 401-885-0600. I'm telling you, Bill, it does seem like that, doesn't it? I mean, it is like a Amityville horror type of thing. Oh my goodness. So again, I'm going to wait right after 2:00. Coming up, if you listen to the radio, you can hear the 2:00 news. For everyone else, though, well, no, we're going to sign off, and then I do have video of the first responders on the scene. It is so strange and it's so odd, and police again on the property. Now they haven't released who it is, so I know there's speculation of who it is. We don't know who it is. We don't know if they live there. Was it someone allowed to stay there? Some of the people obviously surrounding this family are certainly unusual, to say the least. So I don't know, but we're going to have to wait and find out. The initial people that tipped me off to it, they thought it were some older relatives. Maybe it's not the older relatives. Then we had someone pop into the chat and say, oh no, they're alive and well. But maybe they had not heard the word, so we don't know exactly what happened. And then we'll also be active. The rain is tough. Well, yeah, actually, the rain is impossible with Road Patrol Live, but it's nice out now, and maybe everyone's kind of been cooped up a little bit. So we'll definitely be active and out there, folks. Again, remember, we have some original stories on our website, depetro.com. And so, but again, this is unusual news. We don't know exactly what it is just yet, but there has been another dead body on this property in Rehoboth. That's where Greg Groom had lived. That's where he took the life of his then girlfriend, Kylie Montero. He buried her on the property, and then he is being held without bail. And police were called to this property earlier this morning, and what they found were two people in a van, unresponsive, CO2 poisoning. Now, from what we understand, they're saying no foul play. So it was one of two things. It was either accidental or it was self-harm. We're going to wait. That's right, Bill. We're going to wait until they announce what it's going to be. I want to thank Gian and Roger for a great week, folks. I want to thank everybody. Don't forget, check out depetro.com. We have original video, we have original stories, everything right there. The sun is out. Everyone enjoy this weekend. We'll see you later tonight on Road Patrol Live.